The world has been focused on the weapons being developed by popular nations that are known for their technological advancements and expertises in creating advanced weapons of warfare. However, some nations have watched, learned, and have become better at bolstering their defense systems, spending billions of dollars on stealth weapons whose capabilities cannot be rivaled. Japan is a nation also renowned for its technological advancements over the last century and its extremely stable economy. So it should not be a shock that it has unveiled its extremely powerful carrier that has features and tech that even carriers like the US and Russia can't compete with. What are the capabilities of this outstanding aircraft carrier? Can it outbest the USS Gerald Ford? Is Japan becoming a superpower on the world stage again? Follow us as we look into Japan's billion-dollar carrier with capabilities that have left the world amazed. Japan is bouncing back into the limelight. When the nation's post-war constitution was drafted after its loss in the Second World War in 1945, Japan was expressly banned from resolving international disputes with the use of weapons or force. This law, Article 9 of their constitution, dissolved Japan's powerful army and left the nation desolate in the arms and weapons department. This occurrence was a drastic drawback from Japan's previous glory. Fortunately, due to the increasing geopolitical tensions in Asia, the United States, who was initially in support of Japan's disarmament, has now recognized the need for a strong defense system in Japan. As a result of these increased tensions, the US reversed its stance in 1954. Even after lifting the restrictions, Japan's self-defense forces were still very limited in their defense operations. They could not deploy troops overseas or own any weapons that are deemed dangerous, which is incredibly subjective. Thanks to the world evolving and continued uprising of conflicts, Japan started to expand its tactics, and in an attempt to grow beyond their restrictions, they found a way around Article 9. They started building ships and other equipment that would benefit the nation without openly defying or changing the rules that were still in place. Well played, Japan. Well played. The creation of the Imperial JS Izumo was a result of the resurgence of a territorial dispute in the region, alongside the increase in China's investment in upgrading their defense system, have led to Japan building a carrier. They needed a way to protect themselves as they are an island country. Let's dive into the birth of mighty JS Izumo, shall we? After decades of being unable to own a ship that is deemed dangerous, Japan finally developed its own aircraft carrier. The JS Izumo is the lead ship in the Izumo class. This stalwart aircraft carrier was commissioned by the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force in March of 2015. The development of the first ship of the Izumo class started in 2011 at a shipyard in Yokohama. This project was funded with 113.9 billion yen, close to 800 million American dollars. The carrier is officially called a multi-purpose operation destroyer and is considered a light carrier. It is the biggest Japanese naval ship since World War II, and it officially launched on August 6, 2013. It then went through sea trials starting on September 29, 2014. The ship officially joined the Japanese fleet on March 25, 2015. The aircraft carrier was initially designed and built to carry helicopters, but in May of 2018, the ruling Liberal Democratic Party said they wanted to change Izumo so that it could carry fighter jets with fixed wings. This change was confirmed in December of 2018 when Japan announced its new guidelines for defense. Once they finish making these changes, which are still being done today, Izumo will be the first Japanese naval ship to carry aircrafts with fixed wings since World War II. Delays in the upgrades are attributed to the coronavirus pandemic of 2020. They had originally planned to replace the older ships from the Shireen class, which were supposed to retire in 2014, with these new Izumo ships. After the upgrade, the JS Izumo would have the capability to hold up to 28 aircrafts. At first, they planned to have 7 anti-submarine warfare helicopters and 2 search and rescue helicopters. Note that the plans originally were not to have weapons or fighters on the carrier at all. For various missions, it can also carry 400 soldiers and 50 trucks or similar sized equipment. The landing area for helicopters on the deck has 5 spots, so several can land or take off at the same time. The JS Izumo can host a crew of about 470 civilians and up to 400 Japanese self-defense force troops. When involved in a standard mission, the Izumo class can house 7 SH-60K anti-submarine warfare helicopters and 2 MCH-101 utility helicopters. They have the capability to operate up to 5 helicopters at the same time. The carrier can accommodate a total of 28 helicopters within its hangars. Referred to as a multi-purpose vessel, the new carrier's main task, according to Japanese officials, was initially to boost the national defense system, particularly in anti-submarine warfare. They wanted to command and control operations to protect their territories in the East China Sea. A vessel of this nature also serves as an invaluable tool in response to large-scale natural disasters. For example, the devastating earthquake and tsunami that hit in 2011. The rapid mobilization of personnel and supplies can mean better response times for emergency personnel and thus increasing the survival rates among those affected. After it was unveiled to the public, China became curious about the Izumo and quickly perceived its potential due to the carrier's resemblance to a conventional carrier. Although the JS Izumo is officially classified as a destroyer, China and some of their warfare experts started to speculate that this new Japanese vessel could be used to launch fighter jets in the future. China was obviously unsettled about this new innovation and suggested that the carrier was specifically designed to operate against them. They dismissed the anti-submarine functions as a cover story by the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force. Trying to entice action against Japan for violating Article 9, China had grown accustomed to its neighbor being unarmed. The name of the JS Izumo also raised some controversy amongst Chinese political and military circles. The original Izumo, an armored cruiser, was purchased with reparations from the First Sino-Japanese War, a detail that was far from overlooked. Japanese officials, however, consistently refuted these speculations for years. They steadfastly maintained that they had no plans to use Izumo as an aircraft carrier. They pointed to the lack of catapults for launching fighters and the absence of a ski jump ramp on the flight deck for fixed-wing aircraft launches as tangible proof. Despite the several speeches and articles denying the claims made by China, sure enough, in 2018, Japanese official made some announcements. The JSDF's Izumo-class helicopter carriers Izumo and sister ship Kaga would be converted to host F-35B short takeoff and vertical launch stealth jets. As such, the platform will be transformed into a weapon Tokyo hasn't wielded since 1945. There have been some major upgrades on the ship. The year 2022 marked the beginning of the transformation of the JS Izumo. The upgrades were divided into two stages. The first stage was that the ship's deck would be significantly reinforced to withstand the additional weight and heat of the fighters. It would be marked with a heat-resistant coating and flight lines for vertical landing operations. The second stage involved the alteration of the ship's bow shapes and internal configuration to allow both vessels to fully operate the lethal F-35s. Spoiler alert, keep an eye out for our upcoming video for the deadly F-35s. Now back to Izumo. These new additions would cause the ship's submarine warfare capabilities to be reduced. Japan justified these changes in its defense guidelines in the context of the escalating vulnerability of its air bases to China and North Korea's cruise and ballistic missile strikes. According to some experts in the field, Japan will most likely make use of the F-35B's surveillance technology and reconnaissance capabilities, so it can provide weapons-quality target information to other platforms like United States warships. This would allow the vessels to fire off their own missiles, making sure the F-35Bs remain stealthy without opening up its weapon bay. For Japan, the new class of their own F-35B carriers signals a major shift in their defense posture and the acknowledgement that defending their island may require high-end warfighting against China's navy. Predictably, the decision to refit Izumo quickly caused Chinese state-run media to attack Japan's past, boldly stating that from the moment it announced the unveiling of the carrier, it has been conducting underground enhancements of its capabilities in the maritime and air domains. On October 3, 2021, the carrier achieved a significant accomplishment. Two U.S. Marine Corps F-35B Lightning II Joint Strike Fighters successfully took off from and landed on the Izumo. This was the first operation of fixed-wing aircraft from a Japanese Navy warship since World War II. These two F-35Bs from the BATS of Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 242 flew from Marine Corps Air Station Iwakuni, Japan to operate on Izumo. This was done to test the modification of the warship, enabling the short takeoffs and the vertical landing version of the F-35. According to a statement made by the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force, they did not only collect the various verification data, they also conducted various training and evaluations that were necessary for the operation of the jet on the aircraft carrier. This movement improved the exchange of information between Japan and the US. After the exercise, the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force released a video that showed the F-35s launching from Izumo and executing a successful vertical landing. Izumo had recently completed the first phase of the two-stage modification. The ship's final conversion work is scheduled for 2025, while the conversion of her sister ship, JS Kaga, is also on its way to completion. Let's take a look at the modifications and testing phase. The modification of Izumo and Kaga comes with a plan to buy 42 F-35Bs, the first of which arrived in 2023. Meanwhile, U.S. Marine Corps F-35s are expected to continue operating off the two carriers as Japanese pilots acclimate to using the fighters. The operations of Japanese F-35Bs marked the first time since World War II that Japan would operate their fighter aircraft off their naval vessels. This has added to the increasing tensions in the area, especially with China. In May of 2017, Izumo went to escort a U.S. supply ship named USNS Richard E. Byrd near Shikoku. The mission of the Richard E. Byrd was to refuel another U.S. warship protecting the area against North Korean missiles. This was the first time a Japanese ship was sent to accompany a U.S. ship since security laws were made in March of 2016. Some people protested in Yokosuka after Izumo left, thinking that deploying an aircraft carrier went against Japan's defense-only policy. The destroyer Sazanami also joined this mission. In September of 2021, the aircraft carrier joined the British aircraft Castile, HMS Queen Elizabeth, and other countries' carriers during an exercise that was being carried out in the Pacific. Finally, in May of 2022, the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force announced that the JS Izumo, the Takanami-class destroyer JS Takanami, and the Marasami-class destroyer JS Kirasam would be sent out to the rim of the Pacific exercise, the world's largest maritime warfare exercise in 2022. Although Japan had a bad rap from its role in the Second War, it has redeemed itself in the world's eyes. It has contributed to the advancements in technology and the world's economy. It is now once again on the world stage with its military and weapons. This wraps up the video on how Japan has shocked the world after unveiling its billion-dollar aircraft carrier. Do you think the JS Izumo can be equally compared to America's USS Gerald Ford in terms of agility and capabilities? Let us know in the comments. And if you learned anything new from our video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Valkyrie Defense for more videos. Thank you.